am most probably going to be retiring at the end of the year, as I had announced at the beginning of the year. I said that I would retire or this would be my last season is not because of my form or for the level of tennis that I can play. Obviously, I'm able to still play at the highest level. So the problem isn't the tennis. The problem is more, priorities change. It just feels like it's time to do something else. And the good thing is I'm only 35. I was told, why would I want to go and play out in the sun and become dark, and who's going to marry me? Because as if that was my biggest concern in life, not trying to become number one in the world, but actually finding a suitable husband.
47 titles to her name, 6 Grand Slams. She's one of the biggest sporting icons of India. Joining me today is Sania Mirza. Thank you very much for speaking to the News Minute, Sania. How does the year ahead look for you? I know that you're going to North America for a tour. How does the year ahead look?
As a tennis player, we have a very long year. It starts in January, and we're only midway through the year right now. We still have a solid few months of lots of tournaments left with our 4 Grand Slams. The year is never, you're kind of wanting to peak every 2 months, and we are playing 20 weeks a year. So I am really looking forward to going to the US. It's my last couple of months on tour. I am most probably going to be retiring at the end of the year, as I had announced at the beginning of the year. So I feel like I'm excited as always, and I like playing on the hard courts in the US as well. So it suits my game. I've had some of my best results over there.
I had read in between that you thought you used the word retirement too soon. I mean, you had spoken about it in January 2022. Later, you said that maybe I spoke about it too soon. But it seems like you have made up your mind, right?
Well, that's media for you. It was completely out of context what I said, right? I did say that this will be my last season. But after I said that, the only thing people were talking to me, even after I won a match, was how I'm going to retire after 10 months. So I said, I think I've said it too soon. I should have just waited till it was closer to me retiring at the end of the year. That's what I meant. To which it became, I've said it too soon that I would retire. So as usual, there are things taken out of context and it becomes something else. And I think it was just a passing comment that I made. I'm like, oh my god, can you stop talking to me about my retirement? I'm in February and I still have 10 months of tournaments left in me. So that's where that came from. But no, I think that I was pretty sure even then when I did take the call, and I'm pretty sure even now. Something drastically has to change in my mindset and in my body, really, for me to be like, okay, I'm going to play some more. Because right now I just feel like I have I've been able to prove to myself yet again that I'm able to still play at the highest level of the sport. At 35, a kid later, having taken a couple of years off from, as a maternity break. And I'm very, very proud of myself to be able to put myself in this position yet again.
So I was watching your video on Wimbledon. Wimbledon had uploaded a video, a sort of tribute to Sania Mirza. You watched it, I'm sure. How did you feel watching it, your journey through Wimbledon? And that, of course, was a formal goodbye. They also said, we'll miss you, Sania.
Yeah, it was definitely, as a tennis player, Wimbledon is where we always dream of. And the first time we pick up a tennis racket as a young girl in Hyderabad in Nizam Club when I was 6, my only dream was to ever play on those green courts of Wimbledon. And I can speak probably for most of the athletes in the world, tennis players in the world, who would want to do that. So yeah, it was very nostalgic, but I was very, like I said, I'm very proud of the things I've been able to achieve. Not only playing there for so many years, but also being able to win there has been something extremely special. And those are the memories that I have. Those are the victories I have worked all my life for, but those are also the memories that I will take along with me for the rest of my life.
So, I mean, those who track your career very closely say that despite you saying this in Jan 2022, your form has picked up a lot of notches. So, do you think there could be any change in your thoughts, perhaps by the end of the year, if the form really picks up a lot more?
I don't know. It's unlikely because the reason I said that I would retire or this would be my last season is not because of my form or for the level of tennis that I can play. Obviously, I'm able to still play at the highest level. So the problem isn't the tennis. The problem is more, priorities change as you get older. Emotionally and mentally, it's getting harder for me to push day in and day out every day, because to be a professional athlete and a top professional athlete requires so much more than just physical ability to play tennis. And I think that a lot of people probably don't realize how much it takes out of you to be able to put in that effort day in and day out. The sacrifices you make, staying away from family. I mean, now I have a 3.5-year-old who's starting school. I want to be part of that journey with him. I want to be part of, so a lot has to do with that. A lot has to do with my body. I mean, I'm playing with two torn meniscuses right now in my knees. So, it's not long term. I don't think I can keep doing that. I mean, I have to also look after my body at the end of the day. I've had a very good career. I've been able to achieve more dreams than I could have ever imagined in my life. I've been able to become number one in the world, and these were all my goals, and I've been able to do that. So, for me, it just feels like it's time to do something else. And the good thing is I'm only 35, so.
So in the video, you were also recalling, in your father, mother too, about how people would just dismiss your tennis ambitions and saying, "Do you really think you're going to become a tennis star?" Did those doubts really increase after you became a mother? I know that you've spoken about it, and you have proven people wrong. So how has that journey been?
In my life, my goal has never been to prove anyone wrong. It's only been to prove myself right. And I think that it's not really so much about other people. I'm mostly me against me. I could have easily, after when I got pregnant, I mean, I had already been number one in the world, already won grands. I could have just called it, right? It was a much easier thing to do. But I put on 26 kilos, or I don't know, 25 kilos after his Han, or with his Han. And um I mean, why should I put in all that effort to get back into playing fighting shape and getting back to being at the top of the game again? It's my own ambition. It's not really to do with anybody else. So that journey actually has been really fruitful, because it's just shown me how mentally strong I am, how I'm able to still go against odds in many ways. And when people used to say that, I mean, it didn't really make a difference, because I had become so immune to and used to being that odd one out, where a young girl from Hyderabad was playing tennis, and which already was like, what? Like, where's that coming from, right? I mean, we came from a country of, especially 30 years ago, it was only and only cricket. So, and especially for a girl to say, I want to play Wimbledon one day, was unheard of. So, I had become very used to being the odd one out, and I actually enjoyed it, because I felt like these are challenges, and I like challenges. So,
Hmm. As your T-shirt very famously said, "Well-behaved women rarely make history." Right? Um, you said that you're just 35, you will find something else to do. So where do you see yourself maybe a few years down the line, contributing to tennis in India itself, maybe part of the administration, coaching? I know it's too soon to ask, but have you thought of these things?
well, I already run a tennis academy in Hyderabad, which is probably one of the best tennis academies in the country. It is made on 4 acres with 12 tennis courts and a clubhouse and a pool, and everything that you can ask for, and everything that I never had growing up. So the goal was, and that the goal was to try and give back to, obviously, Hyderabad, to the country, to India, but also to give the opportunity for the young kids that we never had. We never had an opportunity to go and play on the best courts in the world, and we never had that opportunity to have the best facilities in the world. So that academy has been on for the last 8 years, actually. So I already have that in place. I'm starting some academies in Dubai, which I base out of, on and off between. So I shuttle between Hyderabad and Dubai, and I don't know. I mean, I haven't really thought of it, to be very honest. I'm still really focused. I'm a very, like, in general, I'm a pretty short term goal oriented person. Like, I think about goals that I want to achieve in a week, or in a couple of weeks, or tomorrow. I don't really think about, oh my god, what am I going to do in one year. Like, I don't really think of life like that, because a lot can change in life. So I just sort of live every day and set new goals every single day. So I mean, I'm sure I'll find something, and I'll find that motivation to have that goal again. I just don't know what. Maybe some commentary here and there. I mean, there could be anything. I would love to help out, of course, if I can help out Indian tennis in any way, whatever way that may be. Yeah, I would love to do that as well.
I think we should exchange note because I'm also a very short-term planning person. Breaking news is my next plan. What is the next news that is going to break? And I never understand people who make long-term plans for anything. Sanya, do you think Indian tennis is not doing that well? I mean, your 27 came more than a decade ago. Somdev's was 62 was in 2011. We have not had any players in the top 100 in the last few years. Are we not doing well? And do you believe that the progress that we made was too little and too slow?
I would like to say that I don't think that we've progressed as much as we expected. I think that's probably the way to put it. I think that after the success I had in singles first, and then I had in doubles later. I mean, we would have thought that there would be this whole revolution of young girls coming out, and just the way it happened in China or in Russia or in Czech Republic. When you get one champion, after that it kind of just follows, right? Like you get tens and 20 people are just coming, and unfortunately that didn't happen. But that's not necessarily only a problem to do with the tennis player, or with the tennis players. It has to do with, in general, the lack of system that we don't have. It is you Tennis is probably the most global sport in the world, individual sport in the world. Besides golf, probably golf and tennis go hand in hand. And there's 200 countries that play the sport. I mean, you are not going to make it just by fluke. That's why if it's by fluke, we have one Sania Mirza or one Mahesh Bhupathi or one Leander Pace every 20-25 years, because there's no actual system in place. And I think that everybody that's made it, you can go back and say Ramesh Krishnan, Ramanathan Krishnan, Vijay Amritraj, no matter who it was, they've all made it individually. Nobody has really come out of a system. And that is one of the biggest problems. We cannot expect tennis players, because there's a lot of financial burden when you play tennis. Nothing is paid for. You are putting in a lot of money. It's not it's very difficult for a normal person to take out 80 lakhs 1 crore a year and go and travel and get nothing in return, or no guarantee to get in return. A lot of other sports have the government or their federations paying for them. We don't. We put in every single penny ourselves, whether that's to pay the coach, whether that's to so financial burden is one thing. Just the kind of training is another thing, because you don't actually know what to do. You're competing against players who have been training in a professional and certain way since the age of 8, 9, 10 years old. And only when they went back home in India, like only when they become 16, 17, 18 is when they start thinking, oh, okay, this is what we need to do. So you're already 8 years behind. You're always playing catch up. So there's a lot of reasons why that doesn't happen. So it's not very simple and like, okay, this is what. So unfortunately, that is where we stand. We stand with no. I mean, the men are still better than the women, I think. Because at least we have a representation of men in the qualies of Grand Slams. We've got Ram Kumar, we've got Sumit Nagal, we've got a Yuki Bhamri. You've got a bunch of guys in close to the top 100 in doubles. But in women's, it's unfortunately we just come up empty every time, right? Like we don't have anyone even when under the 300, and that's just not good enough, unfortunately. So
But realistically, Sanya, how can we change things? Government intervention is one, but beyond a point, it doesn't happen.
no,
How do
government
you think?
government intervention, yes, but also the federation, right? I mean, we need a federation that is more sort of active. Just by hosting tournaments, you're not going to create tennis players. There has to be. If I want my child to play tennis, I know nothing about tennis. I have a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, and I say, I want my child to become a tennis player. What are my steps? What do I do? So I don't know where to go. There is no place to go. If you're in England, you say, okay, I'll go to LTA. There is a facility there. We go there and we're like, okay, we'll take it from there. There's a London Tennis Association. So I mean, there are coaches, there are trainers, there are physios, everything is in place. So I'm just saying that's just an example. So there needs to be a system that works around trying to produce tennis players. It just doesn't happen.
And for that system, governments, private
Every
players, people have to come together. People with money who can put in money into this.
Not just money, right? You also need to put in the effort. I mean, you
Hmm.
can't show up to places after the champion is made. It's very easy to show up after somebody makes it to a Grand Slam. You need to be there when they are 10 years old trying to make it to the Grand Slam. Spot the talent, go into the villages and the smaller towns. Spot the young kids who have that interest, spot the young kids who have that talent and that fire to try and make it, get them together, find coaches, physios. I mean, those are things that I as an individual cannot do. I can start a tennis academy and I can work towards that. Rohan Bopana can start his academy and work towards that. Yeah, so I think individually we are limited, and
Hmm.
that is a fact. I mean, we can try, but we are still limited. So hey, like I said, if there is anything that I can do to make it better, I'm always there to help.
As a woman in sports, how do you think the situations for women in particular, like as a journalist, I do recently I was reading the story about an athlete who said that she's gone through mental harassment. There have been sporadic complaints of sexual harassment. So for women, is it much more difficult, and how do you think that can also be improved?
I mean, you're a woman, you can answer that question yourself. Is it much more difficult being a woman journalist than a male journalist? Probably, right? I mean, I think that's just the way of life. I don't think that it's necessarily something to do only with sport,
Hmm.
that is to do with life. I think it's important to recognize that. It's important to acknowledge it, but but it is very important not to accept it. We cannot accept to be second, and I think that is very important. But I think you have to say it out loud so that it is acknowledged that the world is like that, right? We may shout out rooftops saying that we are living in an equal world, but let's be honest, are we really living in an equal world? I don't think so. I don't think that we are, not in any space of life, right? If you walk into an office, a woman is not first based on, not all the time, but most of the time is not first based, judged on what her qualification is. She's judged on the way she looks, and that is a fact, and a lot of people don't like it when it's said to them, but that is how it is. That is, it is so deeply subconsciously in our minds that a woman should look a certain way or be a certain way. So it's the same in sport, it's the same in journalism, it's the same in any office you walk into. It is how it is, and it is our job to try and change that. It is our job to try and teach our daughters, but more importantly our sons, that that is not how life works. So I think that is very important for me. And whether it's sexual harassment, and I'm not saying that every single person is all about, oh, okay, you're a woman so you're beneath me. No, but it is more often than not. And being a girl, it is much more difficult to play tennis or play a sport. I mean, you can hear stories from anybody, right? Like you see movies, you talk about Mary Com. I mean, she was told all the time, why would she want to box, right? Like, how can you box? Why do you want to box? You're a girl. The Fogart sisters are told the same thing. I was told the same thing. I was told, why would I want to go and play out in the sun and become dark, and who's going to marry me? Because as if that was my biggest concern in life, not trying to become number one in the world, but actually finding a suitable husband. So I think that these are narratives that have been going on for generations, and these are narratives that we as women today, but also as men, we need to change that. We need to change the way it works.
My final question to you, I was reading a profile of yours by journalist Vandana in the print. She said, she's written a long article in which she said that you are not just a sports woman who made it to the top, but you're unlike many others because you started young and people were first enamored and also shocked at the way you dressed, the way you spoke. There were fatwas, there was this and that, and so many controversies, but you somehow emerged out of all that. She described you as Indians saw her as a woman first, a Muslim second, and athlete third. How would you describe what you have gone through all these years, this entire journey?
I don't think I can describe it really. I think that when I kind of burst onto the scene, when I was in 2005 ish, 4 or 5, um, fortunately, unfortunately, the media and social media also was bursting out of like, especially the visual media was actually bursting on the scene then as well. So kind of everybody was kind of growing together, so nobody really also knew their footing, what was happening. So after a certain point, it got boring to write about forehands and backhands and serves and how much one is winning or losing, so they tried to find more things to write about and or speak about. And then they realize, oh well, this is selling too, so where is it that we can push the boundary a little bit more? That's how I see it. That's how what happened. For me it was very simple, and it still is very simple. Nothing really has changed. I believe that I was and am as true to myself, as possible, in front of the media or behind the media. I mean, it's not really, I don't like change as soon as the camera is off or anything. I stay the same, whether it's my sarcastic dry humor or it's what I really think you are. I stay the same. I don't really go as soon as the camera is off. I'm not like, oh okay, well now I can talk. It's just not who I am. And that's something that was also inbuilt in me, but also given, that conference was given to me by my family and my parents, that you need to be true to yourself. So I also think that I wouldn't be the star that I was or the star that I am if I wasn't the way that I was. So I think everything kind of goes hand in hand. And the media and I have always had a love hate relationship. It's been more love lately than hate, but initially it used to be more hate than love. And um, it's just, I don't really take media or social media very seriously. At 35, of course, at 18, it's a lot harder to accept that, but or acknowledge that. But at 35 it's very simple for me. I'm very happy and grateful for where I am in my life, and so I don't really take what people say or what people think really very seriously to my heart at all, because I'm very secure of the person that I am and the woman that I am, and I will keep standing up for what I feel is right, whether somebody else likes it or not.
I will stand up for what's right no matter what people think. That's Sania Mirza's parting line. Thank you very much, Sania, for speaking to the News Minute. She's made it clear that she is going to retire. This is going to be her final tournament year. India will miss this sporting icon, so will the world. But Sania Mirza is here to stay and do her bit for Indian tennis, Indian sports, and much more. So we will keep watching out for that. And
Thank
thank you
you.
to all the viewers who tuned in to the News Minute.
Thank you. Bye bye.